initiative. The building you're in is the Student Council headquarters. Certainly to say that women in various capacity has been a leading agent of change, be it at home, during the work or the community for a long time now. Certainly conferences like this, which is organized by PACEWORKING, are important to highlight the achievement of women as leaders, to encourage the brilliant work women are doing, and certainly for women to learn opportunities which are available to them. And this is why Student Council is proud to do that. Just lastly to say, to introduce a real stalwart of women as an agent of change. Certainly many of you know AINA, many of you know her, and many of you will certainly agree that she does indeed have huge tenacity, and she is very important in pushing the cause of women around the country. Can you please now give a full warm welcome for AINA?
Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome you to the PACEWORKING conference, and this conference is themed Agents of Change. It's for International Women's Day. International Women's Week, I beg your pardon, International Women's Day is on the 8th of March, and it's recognised by the United Nations every year. About PACEWORKING events, I've been doing PACEWORKING events for almost 8 years now, and it started off as a small networking organisation doing networking events in the community in London, and it's gone on to doing conferences and events primarily in the UK and Nigeria. This is the second event I've done for International Women's Week. The first one was last year, and I thought it's a very important event in the calendar where women can come together and celebrate what we're doing. I specifically also wanted to focus on widows, and I'm pleased that we have Mrs. ALAKIJA all the way from Lagos, Nigeria, who runs a widows charity, and she will talk about that later on. Also coming in from Nigeria is CELINE, and can we just give those two individuals a warm round of applause, because they've come a little bit further. And I would also like to welcome some of the guests that came here today with Mrs. ALAKIJA. You are most welcome. For the first session, we're going to be hearing from BEVERLEY DE-GALE, OBE, and then is Perez here? Perez? Perez is not here yet. She said she's on her way, so we'll see how that goes, whether she's able to join us. And then we'll have CELINE. We'll have a short break, and then we'll be hearing from Mrs. ALAKIJA, Councillor Kate ANOLUE, who is the Worshipful Mayor of the London Borough of Enfield, and then we'll be hearing from YINKA ESSIEN and Dr. Karen BREWER. So without any further ado, I'm going to welcome, first of all, I'd like to thank all the speakers who have come here today. Please can we give a warm welcome for the Mayor of Enfield, just in case you don't know him. The Mayor of Enfield will be speaking in the second session. Also, can we also acknowledge once again the presence of CELINE. She's going to be speaking in the first session. Mrs. FOLORUNSHO ALAKIJA is going to be speaking in the second session. Dr. Karen BREWER. Welcome to the top table, CELINE, please. Can I also welcome BEVERLEY DE-GALE, OBE. I would just like to say a few words about each of our speakers here. First of all, Beverley DE-GALE, OBE. Beverley DE-GALE is the co-founder of the African Caribbean Leukemia Trust, ACLT. She set this up alongside her partner, Orin Lewis, and it was founded in June 1996. After Beverley and Orin received the devastating news that their 8-year-old son, Daniel DE-GALE, needed a life-saving bone marrow transplant in order to win his battle against leukemia. In 1996, there were just 550 black and mixed race donors on the UK bone marrow registers. Now, with the campaigning by ACLT, there are over 40,000. Beverley DE-GALE will be speaking about the ACLT's campaigning for change in the African and Caribbean community. Please give her a warm welcome once again.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd just like to say thanks very much to SEYE and the organisers of tonight's event for inviting me to address you. I'd also like to say I'm not a widow, but I have lost my dearest firstborn child, and the pain is, I think I can say, as deep as losing your partner. So thank you for inviting me tonight. My name is Beverley DE-GALE. I am co-founder of the ACLT, the African Caribbean Leukemia Trust. I'm also the very proud mother of former leukemia sufferer Daniel DE-GALE. In April 1993, when Daniel was just 6 years of age, he was diagnosed with a childhood form of leukemia. It's called acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Those of us that live with this condition, we call it ALL for short. We were immediately taken to Great Ormond Street Hospital in London, and Daniel was put on a 2-year course of chemotherapy and other treatments in an attempt to beat the disease. On completion of his treatments, we were told to get on with our lives. As far as his consultants were concerned, Daniel was cured. Each month following, Daniel would have a blood test to ensure that all was well. But 9 months later, he suffered a relapse of the disease. In other words, the leukemia had come back. We were completely shocked by this news, and Daniel's chances of survival had dropped to just 50%. For the first time in our meetings with the consultants at Great Ormond Street, they started talking to us about stem cell transplants, that's bone marrow transplants. They said that because the leukemia had returned, Daniel's best chance of beating the disease would be to receive healthy donated cells from a donor. Daniel's sister, Dominique, was immediately tested. See, brothers and sisters, they have a 1 in 4 chance of matching, but she was not a match. Plus, stem cell matching is race specific. And so a search was immediately carried out on all of the world's stem cell registries, but there were no matches, not even close. Our stem cell consultant said that in the 24 years of the stem cell registries, less than 550 black and mixed race people had ever registered to save a life in the United Kingdom, and that Daniel's chances of finding a donor was a 1 in 250,000 chance, simply because our community, the black and mixed race community, was not registering in large enough numbers. For myself and Orin, our minds were immediately made up. We knew that in order for Daniel to beat this cancer, we was going to have to take some drastic action. The ACLT was founded a few months later. By the time the charity was set up, we had already commenced raising awareness and registering donors in an attempt to not only find Daniel's lifesaver, we also worked to assist other patients all around the world. In the meantime, the team at Great Ormond Street put Daniel on a second 2-year course of chemotherapy in the hope that it would cure the condition without the need for a stem cell transplant. Daniel completed 2 years, but once again he suffered another relapse. The leukemia had returned. Daniel's chance of survival had now dropped to 25%. the ACLT had been registering donors, but nothing had come through as a match for Daniel. In an attempt to keep Daniel safe, in other words, we had to get him back into remission, and to try and keep him in remission in preparation for a match being found, he was put on further chemotherapy and other treatments. But the clock was ticking, and our son was at the greatest risk ever. A news media campaign was starting to bubble, which allowed us to engage with well-known black and white celebrities and high-profile individuals who all wanted to ensure a safe future for Daniel. They all had a great interest in our efforts to raise awareness of Daniel and to help others by registering as donors. It was a landslide of support which allowed Daniel's story to be heard throughout the UK, sections of West Africa, United States, Caribbean and Europe. Thousands of black and mixed race people in the UK started to register as donors at ACLT registration drives, and in small numbers we started to find matching donors for other patients. In June 1999, 6 years after Daniel's initial diagnosis, our family found our winning lottery ticket. A 45-year-old African-American who had registered just a couple of months previously was found to be Daniel's donor. Daniel was immediately admitted into Great Ormond Street Hospital at the end of May 1999 in preparation for his stem cell transplant. Whilst in Detroit, Michigan, Doreen Carney, a born-again Christian, donated stem cells, and she immediately said a prayer for our family. On the 16th of June, Daniel commenced what we hoped would be his final journey to beat ill health. He received Doreen's donated cells, and 6 months later, he went back to school. 3 years later, Daniel achieved 12 A-star to C-grade GCSEs. He also went on to gain 3 A-levels. But he would tell you that his greatest achievement to date was being able to meet the lady that saved his life. Daniel celebrated 9 years post-transplant in June 2008. He was also leukemia-free and studying at university to become a sports physiotherapist. He was heading for the 2012 Olympic Games, but he had developed a condition called hemolytic anemia. This is a premature breakdown of the red blood cells, which resulted in him needing 3 to 5 units of donated blood every week to survive. Thankfully, most blood groups are not race-specific, and thanks to blood donations from the primarily white community, Daniel was able to get up in the morning, to attend university, enjoy quality time with family and friends, and to have his last holiday on the island of Cyprus with his friends before he was tragically taken from us. Daniel died, aged 21, on the 8th of October 2008 from multiple organ failure. Family and friends were on standby to donate an organ in an attempt to save his life. At Daniel's funeral, there were lots of tears of sadness and tears of joy. And I know this may sound strange, but we did also smile and laugh a lot, as his sister and few family friends told funny stories about their dear brother and dear friend, Daniel David DE-GALE. Since Daniel's passing, the ACLT, in conjunction with the National Blood Service, have organised annual Daniel DE-GALE blood donation sessions. Donate for Daniel takes place 363 days of the year by encouraging the black and ethnic minority communities to donate 1 unit of blood for transfusion purposes en masse in memory of Daniel. The ACLT was officially launched in June 1996 to raise awareness of leukemia and all blood-related cancers. Our ultimate aim has always been to encourage the black, mixed race and ethnic minority communities to register as blood and stem cell donors. Our toughest task has been to battle against the myths, fears and taboos in our communities about the subject matter of being donors. For us, it's a simple message of being on standby to assist another human being and asking ourselves what we would want if our loved ones needed help. Simply put, the person in need of a stem cell donor may be a stranger today, but that person could be someone you know and love dearly tomorrow. And so, Daniel's story through the media has helped to galvanise sections of our community to step forward and register for anyone that finds themselves in this terrible situation of needing a life-saving donor. Since the ACLT was originally founded in 1996, family and friends and members of the general public have joined our journey of raising awareness and registering donors as unpaid volunteers. We could not do our work without these guys. A few of our 120 volunteers have been with us since 1996, but we have many that have joined us along the way to not only assist the charity, but to also enrich their lives as they join a very worthy cause. To date, we have registered over 40,000 black and mixed race potential stem cell donors, and thousands of ethnic minorities as well as white Northern Europeans. We are proud to say that we have found over 45 matching stem cell donors. Thousands have also registered to donate blood for transfusion purposes through the work of the ACLT, and in 2011 we officially started to register organ donors. Black and Asian people are 3 to 4 times more likely to need an organ transplant, but less than 1% of our people are on the NHS organ donor register. Organ donation is a massive taboo in our communities. The ACLT dedicates our time, efforts and resources into simply explaining the facts so that people learn to understand the current crisis. We remove any myths and fears and offer people the chance to sign up as everyday heroes. We also work with 16 to 25-year-olds. They help the charity to spread our message of saving lives. They are positive and they are our future. We have invested our time and resources into helping them to promote the facts and not letting them believe the myths which have been handed down to them about being donors. The ACLT recruits these young volunteers who are not in education, employment or training to become youth ambassadors on behalf of the ACLT. Their job is to get the word out within their communities, their peers, friends and families on the importance and need for us all to become donors. To help them achieve their aims, they have worked together to create 3 amazing short films about being blood, stem cell and organ donors, which highlights this important health topic. They can be viewed via our ACLT charity YouTube page. Bone marrow, blood and organ donation are a gift from one person to another who needs a lifeline. Thousands of lives could be saved or vastly improved by these simple acts of giving. Thank you.
Thank you. That was an incredible story. Those of us who followed Daniel's life, and we are quite familiar with the great work that Beverley and Orrin have done and continue to do. Congratulations, I would say, because it's been a real campaign, and it still is going on. And I want to say that you know, I'm really, really proud of what she's done, not only as a woman but as a mother. It's been incredible. Thank you very much. What I'm going to do is we're going to take questions afterwards. So if you have any questions, you know, we'll have a session after Celine Loader has spoken. Our next speaker is Celine Loader. I'm just going to say a few words. There is information in the programme, full of information, but for such an incredible lady that has done so much, I'll just briefly say a few words. Celine's previous experience and credits include 8 years with the software giant Microsoft as regional product marketing manager, covering 15 countries in Africa and the Middle East. She also spent 4 years running her own company, Aspire Media, as the publisher of that award-winning magazine. After over 20 years in the UK, where she had studied and built a successful career, she decided to use her skills and experience to help transform brands and drive growth in Nigeria. In 2006, she was called to Nigeria to head the brand communication division of the United Bank of Africa. She rose to group director, marketing and corporate relations, and held this position until 2009, when she was headhunted and appointed as Chief Marketing Officer of the First Bank of Nigeria. She is currently a consultant and special advisor on strategic communication and PR for the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, whilst also pursuing other passions in the creative industry, specifically television and movie projects. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Celine Loader, who will speak on expanding your career prospects and horizons in Nigeria, but she might also touch on other areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you very much for that. I don't know if many of you know this, but she lost her father only last week. So please join me in commiserating with her and for sticking to the commitment of seeing this program through, even with that kind of a loss. So let me start with my own journey. I should just quickly say, started with 4 years at the University of Reading, where I got a master's degree. I joined Microsoft. I spent 9 years in Microsoft. I had 2 babies. I set up my own media company. I ran Aspire magazine between 2003 and 2007. And I was called to Nigeria to head the brand and communications division of a bank. And did that for 3 years. Went to another bank, did another couple of years, and now I'm a senior advisor at the Central Bank of Nigeria. Anything in between that, if you want to ask specific questions, I'm very prepared to answer to you. Where are the opportunities in Africa? I'm sure many of you have heard that it is Africa's time. Everybody is saying it. CNN is saying it. CNBC is saying it. Everybody is saying it. It is Africa's time. We have been to this kind of position before. In my long years of working and going back and forth in Africa, we've always talked about the African Renaissance. But I think the pulse has never been as strong, and the prospects have never been as lucrative and attractive as they are right now in Africa. Africa is growing at about an average of 6%, Nigeria is growing 7%, the rest of the world is growing at about 2 to 3%, if they're growing at all. So if you do the math, you will know that everybody who is anyone looking for where to put their money in terms of growth opportunities, expansion opportunities for their companies, for their organizations, they are looking at Africa. So if you're thinking about what to do next, where to go in terms of expanding your career, think Africa, think Nigeria. But there's a health warning to this presentation. My talk is not about advising all of you, it's not a clarion call, it's not a recruitment drive, it's not a command for you to now go and uproot and go to Nigeria. There's 1 or 2 of you here who've made that journey, and perhaps during the interaction you will share your experience, and she even is one of them. It is something that you do with your eyes open, your ears open. You do a lot of research, you dip your toe in, you come out a little bit and go back and, towards this slightly deeper end, and then you make that move gradually. My own journey started with United Bank for Africa. They were here in this country in 2005 when all the banks came to do some sort of sensitization about Soludo's consolidation exercise for the banks. When the banks were cut down from 89 banks in Nigeria to 25 banks, and that was quite a turmoil, if you like, in the industry. And all the CEOs were here looking for talent, looking for people to help prosecute their various visions and strategies for their newly consolidated banks. And for 8 months, this particular CEO was prodding and asking me to come to Nigeria. I mean, as you can imagine, I was running my own business. My family is here, my children are here, my husband is here. How do I uproot and go to Nigeria to work? A combination of circumstances. Aspire and the pressure of Aspire being not the least of them, made me eventually say yes to going back to Nigeria. What I would say about that journey is, and if any one of you is thinking about making it, you have to negotiate and negotiate hard. Life in Nigeria is and I'm sure my big sister will talk about it later on, Nigeria has an energy of its own that is both very, very addictive, but also can sit on your shoulder like an albatross, because you want it and you don't want it, you want it and you don't want it. It is a place not for the faint-hearted. If you can make it in Nigeria, I bet you can make it anywhere in the world. Full stop. It's a place that will build you up, cut you down. What you think you know, A is A, B is B. When you go to Nigeria, A is probably B, and B is probably C. So you have to kind of go with all your eyes open, read between the lines, listen to everything that everyone is saying, take it with a dollop of salt, come back and ask the same question a different way, get a different answer, go back and ask again the same question, you probably get a different answer, and then sit quietly in your room and look at all the answers that you got and decide actually the truth might be somewhere around there, kind of thing. So it's, for me, it has been fantastic. I have been blessed with some really, really great jobs in Nigeria. They say you're only as good as your last job, and really that's how I have managed to go from one position to another. Going from from UBA to First Bank was on the strength of transforming what was an old fuddy-duddy bank to a wonderful, shiny new United Bank for Africa. And of course, First Bank, being the oldest bank in the country, wanted to do the same with its brand, and it came looking for me. But Nigeria is also typical in the sense that when you cease to become useful, if you like, or if you cease to have that position at the very top, your relevance goes just like that, right? So you need to just keep on top of your game time and time and time again. You have to deliver. So where are the opportunities? Everyone who thinks Nigeria thinks oil, right? You would be right to think that's where the biggest opportunities are. But not everyone can go digging in, the far-flung places in the Niger Delta to look for oil. You can go into the oil industry. There is a whole lot of opportunities within there in terms of providing services to that industry, which is massive, from catering to marketing. But because of not least what my boss is doing, the central bank governor, and some others in the government, there is a real strong drive for diversification into the real sector. So we want to see areas like agriculture, areas like manufacturing, areas like even the aviation industry, which is at best. What I would say though is just look at what the society needs. And there is a whole lot of needs in Nigeria. The only problem with Nigeria, and for people like me, even having been there 7 years, I still find this very difficult, is that when you see the gap between the rich and the poor, you start to think, even if I do start to develop or create something, who am I going to sell it to? Right? So everybody wants to make things that only the rich can buy, but unfortunately the rich are very, very tiny. My big sister here is among the first 0.001%, probably. And the rest have to deal with just looking at basic things on a daily basis, but there are still opportunities to provide even into that market, from things like mosquito repellents. I mean, if you think about people dying from malaria, things that are so curable. There is somebody who came into the country with patches that were that came from China, and they were sold at a really, tiny, tiny prices which your ordinary person on the street can afford. That was a huge business opportunity. It took off, and you would think if you sell something for 200 naira, and there's 167 million people in the country, you do the math and you start to see what the opportunities are. So basically it's going back to the country, looking at what the needs are, where if you like, you can get the big killing, like in the oil industry, or you can grow from, small scale, providing things to the ordinary man on the street and kind of scale up from there. There are lots and lots of opportunity. In agriculture, we're trying to get the secondary industry going, as in take the product from the farm, but before it gets to the consumer, add some value to it, and that starts to grow, if you like, the agricultural industry, which at the moment provides, or I think it has about 40% of the GDP, but only contributes 40% of the GDP, but only like 1% or 2% of the income. Is that the correct statistic? Sorry, is there any economists in the audience here? Anyway, there's a discrepancy. Agriculture employs a lot of people, but it doesn't add value to the whole chain. So we produce a lot of primary stock, but we import things like rice, we import tomato paste, we import leather, we import almost everything in Nigeria, although we produce at the primary level a lot of those things. So there are opportunities to come in, see what is produced at that primary level, add some value to it, and then create your own business that way. Lots and lots of people are doing that kind of stuff on a small scale, providing, taking Ankara material and making lovely little handbags and shoes. That's now a booming industry in the fashion world. People are taking primary products like cassava and turning them into flour that can make bread. That's the president's particular favorite, which is the new thing in Nigeria, cassava bread. You never knew that you could make bread out of cassava, but that's something that is building gradually and people are trying to make money from it. So there are lots and lots of things that you can do in Nigeria. But as I said before, do your research, do your homework, join networks like LinkedIn, where you will see lots of jobs advertised, lots of business opportunities advertised, lots of opportunities for partnerships and consortia that you can join and go bit by bit into Nigeria rather than go full scale, uproot your family and your whatever else to go to Nigeria. I wouldn't advise that. I would advise little movements at a time. Go in, do a project, come out, see how that looks, go back into a bigger project, and then finally make the decision to move. My final point is to just talk about some of the key things that will determine your move to any place. I mean, your family situation is very important. I spend so much time in the air, it's not even funny. I come back to London every 2 weeks. In the last 7 years, I've been doing that journey. Every 2 weeks, I'm on the plane back to see my boys, then I go back. Some long weekends, nobody from the central bank is here, so I can say this. I steal a couple of days on either side of the weekend, so I can stretch the weekends. But as a consultant, I am flexible. And that is why I moved from First Bank to the central bank to set up as a consultant, because then I will have perhaps more time to spend in England than I used to before. So the other thing that I think you need to think about is how risk averse you are. As I said before, Nigeria's energy is very addictive. But it's not a structured environment. What you think you know may just be turned on its head. And you find yourself tearing your hair out trying to understand why you're stuck in traffic for 4 hours trying to make a journey that's only, like 2 kilometers. Why would someone say to you, "Ma, I'm bringing it right now," when actually they haven't even started? Why would you go to a market and say, "How much is that bottle?" And they say, "It's 10,000 naira." And you go like 2 steps down, two stores away, and you ask the price of that same bottle, and somebody says it's 2,000 naira, and you think, okay, I don't even know what the real price of this thing is. It's the same thing. One person says 10,000, the other one says it's 2,000. I don't know where the real price of this thing is. But that's the if you like, the excitement, the adventure, the discovery that Nigeria is, and you have to kind of grow that thick skin and have that sense of survival adventure to go in there and see, what you can do. But when you do make it, it's a fabulous, fabulous opportunity to make. So, ladies and gentlemen, I shall stop here, and if you have any questions, I'm quite prepared to take them. Thank you very much.
I'm sure you'll both you'll agree with me that we've heard two very inspirational women here, and this is why we are here today to celebrate International Women's Week, because from their various perspectives, they are people that have been agents of change in what they're doing. Mrs. Bev DE-GALE, she has been campaigning very hard in the UK community, and have you taken it to Africa yet? Are you?
Yeah, we was in Ghana in 2005.
Because I think this is something that, especially Nigeria, I think you need to, you know, we can see what we can do to expand that campaign to Ghana and Nigeria as well. So, you know, I think this is an opportunity for us to talk and see how we can help you even more as a network and as an organisation to get that message in Africa as well, so that there's better communication. Because you've done a very good job in the UK, and the message can also expand to Africa and the Caribbean as well. Yeah. So you know, there are people here that can assist with that progress. So ladies and gentlemen, we also heard from Celine, and she gave us a very interesting perspective on her journey and how she was headhunted to Nigeria and how she is doing extremely well now. And as a professional woman, I think it's very interesting when you got a pioneer like that, because I knew Celine when she was here, and you know, I still do have the magazines. You know, I do look at them from time to time and get inspiration. So, you know, from aspiring us in the UK, she's gone further afield now, and I'm glad that they've got flexible arrangements for women in Africa. Even that is an achievement in itself, that you know, you can get a very good job that allows some degree of flexibility, which is what we want as women. So does anybody have any questions?
Celine, it's lovely to see you. I remember back in 2005 when the UBA came to London, when they were launching this big move from, you know, about the UBA, I mean the Nigerian Central Bank. So congratulations and well done. My question actually is to do with the First Bank and their support for women. I read by the CIA, which is the Central Intelligence Agency, says that 50.4% of women can read and write in Nigeria. Yet, if you look at the disparity between the successful women and the men, it's quite huge. So, from your experience, and also from your knowledge of Nigeria, having spent 7 years there, I don't expect you to be an expert, but could you give us like an overview of what First Bank, I believe that's where you are at the moment, or Central Bank? So, yeah, okay. So what are they doing for women's movement?
It's a really, really good question, and also quite timely, because I do work for the central bank, which is the regulator of banks, rather than a commercial bank, as the other two that I've worked for before. The central bank governor that we have at the moment, I don't know if, and I'm sure many of you have heard of him, Malam Sanusi Lamido Sanusi. He calls himself a feminist, which is a charming way of saying he is really passionate about women's and sort of gender issues. And right now with the Bankers Committee, he's almost compelling the banks, the commercial banks, to reverse the really dire situation in terms of women at senior levels in banks. You would find that in the banking sector, the pyramid, I mean, it's a pyramid in terms of women's involvement in banks. At the really, really entry level, the women almost surpass the men. Right? So the proportion of women at the very low level of staff in bank, the tellers, the customer services people are all mostly women. But as you go further and further up the management chain, then the proportion of women actually just drops so quickly that at board level of maybe 13 members, you'd find one woman amongst 13. Sometimes, if you're lucky, 2, but not more than that. So he has agreed with the Bankers Committee to start to do what you call what they call it in the States, affirmative action in a way, so that you will set a certain percentage of women or a certain number of positions within the executive to be filled by women. Good women, of course, you're not going to put any kind of woman in a position of executive director just because you want to fill the gender gap. But there are some fantastic women that are doing fantastically well, but have not been given the opportunity to rise to that level. In fact, when Sanusi recruited us into First Bank, it was amazing to me to find that we were called in as general managers, and two of us who were recruited anew were the only two general managers, women, in First Bank. I mean, that bank is like 115 years old when I joined them, and that was the first time they had two women recruited at the same time. We were general managers. So the current governor of the central bank is very, very passionate about getting women into just to get their fair share of the pie as far as the recruitment of senior women in banking is concerned. And I would say to women, ambition is not a bad thing, and I think perhaps that's what's keeping some women from kind of trying to rise too quickly in that cutthroat world of Nigerian banking. Because if you're seen to be too ambitious, then it's somehow a bad thing when you're a woman. But what I would say though about Nigeria is that the women don't play. I mean, they do fight for what is rightfully theirs. And unfortunately, Nigeria is also schizophrenic when it comes to women. On the one level, they are very respectful of women who have achieved great things in their various fields and so forth. But I think generally there is a sense that women are generally second class. There is a certain generality or generalization of women. Well, they are sort of second class, but there is a great respect for women who have achieved, like Okojo, like our senior sister here. Many women who have made it to the top have tremendous respect. But like I said before, you have to kind of push through that barrier with almost a man's strength and prove your worth. And once you do that, then you get the respect. But that's a long answer to the question which Rhonda asked, which is that the central bank governor is really passionate about this and is pushing for those targets which have been set for each level of management. Specific targets have been set, 30% for board, 25% for senior management, and so forth going down. So, yeah, he's doing something.
And I just want to commend Beverly so much, because we're talking about women, and she just talked about her son, and we forget that this is a woman who is actually working so hard. And I'm also so pleased that the government recognized the work that you have done, hence your OBA. So that is fantastic. And also talking to everyone, if you are ready, Beverly is so versatile, because when I met her and talked to her about our own church and a dear friend of mine, that was in 2007. You know, it was just quite easy for her to say, yes, I'll come. And this was arranged, and she was able to talk and make sure that our priest, everybody knew about it, so that at all the masses she was able to speak, and then we were able to have a drive. And it was quite successful. We had a lot of people that came to have their blood done, and myself being a midwife as well, and nurse, I was able to continue to take some blood from others. So I think for all of us here, do look around, and Beverly would listen to your call. It's a fantastic woman, and thank you so much for what you've been doing. Again, I've been following your history and your story, and continuously.
Hi everyone, my name is Titi Familisi. My questions, the two of them actually, to Beverly. You mentioned that you have 40,000 people on the ACLT register. Does that include the ANOLUE?
Yes. What we do, the ACLT engages with the community, and we put people onto the Anthony Nolan register and the British Bone Marrow Registry. Okay. And my second question was actually how you do the drives that you do, because I have come very close to leukemia, in the sense that very close to
leukemia as a cancer, in the sense that I lost my closest friend to it a few years ago. And I've been trying to do drives ever since to get, you know, the anti-NOLA to actually come into my organisation to do drives.
Okay.
I succeeded the one time, but I haven't succeeded since then.
Okay, you should get in touch with the ACLT.
Good.
That's what you should. I'll give you my card before I leave.
Cool.
Thank you. For this first session, I'm really, really touched, especially as I personally know their journeys, and you know, I think it's incredible. I think each and every one of us here can also be an agent of change. They have been changed. They have been agents of change in our community, and I think from what we've heard, I think there's a lot we can do in our various communities, in our churches. You've heard a very interesting message from Beverley DE-GALE today, and I think we can do a lot, not only here in the UK, but extending that to, I know a lot of us are here from Africa. I think we can get that message across through our various networks and communities. So, you know, let your presence here be one where we can actually expand on the work of the ACLT. And I promise also that I will do my best via my networks to, you know, engage with you and spread the good work that you're doing. I'd like to thank CELINE as well for her wonderful words about her work in Nigeria. She's doing an awful lot as a professional person, and we're really inspired by what she has done as a woman, and she's also a mother. So, you know, juggling all those commitments is absolutely incredible. We're just going to have one or two announcements.
My name is Esther. I run the Widows Rendezvous Helps Ministry. We have offices here in Lagos and in Benin. We're having a fundraising dinner on the 1st of June at the Holiday Inn on Stratford Road. What are we doing? We're trying to start an empowerment center for the widows in Edo State. So we're going to have a fundraising dinner to raise funds on how we can start off in Edo State. The empowerment center is going to comprise of a creche, a nursery school, a soft loan center, and skill acquisition center for the widows and farmers in the rural areas. And on the 1st of June, we're going to be at the Holiday Inn on Stratford from 6 to 11 p.m. It's a fundraising dinner. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your great work, Esther. Pastor Esther. One more announcement.
Hello, my name is Bumi Akinyojo. I run a business called LEUKAEMIA, and we make things like this. These are Easter baskets and Easter chicks which I've made. They're all made from sweets and they're ready to sell. I do other bits and pieces as well, cookies, cakes, and everything else. So if you're interested, you can come and have a look. Thank you.
A big taste, please.
Thank you.